Regarding the trip hazard, both the surface mount boxes and the weatherproof boxes can pose a tripping hazard if not installed properly. To mitigate this risk, consider using recessed floor boxes designed to be flush with the floor surface. For floor box installation, specifically chipping out concrete, use a rotary hammer with a masonry bit to carefully chip out the concrete around the pipe until it is at the appropriate dimensions for the floor box. For floor box selection, choose a low-profile round floor box, such as a column plastic round box, to minimize the height above the floor. For cover selection, use an oversized cover plate to conceal any damage to the linoleum. Possible alternatives to chipping include soil cutting. If feasible, you could consider using a concrete saw to cut a clean opening in the concrete for the floor box. However, this method may damage the conduit and surrounding area, so it should be approached with caution. Another alternative is surface mount boxes with ramp covers. While not ideal, you could explore using surface mount boxes with ramp covers to create a more gradual transition from the floor to the box, reducing the tripping hazard. To secure the floor box, inject epoxy or another suitable adhesive around the perimeter of the floor box to secure it to the floor. Allow the adhesive to cure fully before reinstalling the cover plate. To prevent linoleum damage, use a sharp utility knife or a scoring tool to carefully cut a small circle in the linoleum around the pipe. Gently lift the linoleum to expose the concrete for chipping and floor box installation. After the floor box is secured, trim the linoleum around the cover plate and adhere it firmly to the floor. Additional considerations include ensuring that the conduit is properly supported and protected from damage during the installation process. Pull the wires out of the conduit before chipping the concrete. If the conduit is encased in concrete, you will need to expose it by chipping away the concrete. Inspect the conduit for any damage and repair it if necessary before installing the floor box. Firstly, prepare the work area by turning off the power to the circuit you'll be working on. Always verify the power is off using a non-contact voltage tester before proceeding. Secondly, clear the area around the existing surface mount or weatherproof box. Remove any obstructions and ensure you have enough space to work comfortably. Thirdly, carefully disconnect the existing wiring from the receptacle in the box. Use appropriate tools and follow safe electrical practices. Fourthly, once the wiring is disconnected, remove the existing box from the floor. Note how it is attached and any relevant measurements. Fifthly, using a sharp utility knife or scoring tool, carefully cut a small circle in the linoleum around the pipe where the conduit enters the floor. Sixthly, gently lift the linoleum to expose the concrete underneath. Be careful not to tear or damage the linoleum more than necessary. Seventhly, using a rotary hammer with a masonry bit, carefully chip out the concrete around the pipe. The goal is to create a recess that will accommodate the new floor box and allow it to sit flush with the floor surface. Eighthly, take your time and avoid damaging the conduit. Work in small increments, removing small pieces of concrete at a time. Ninthly, periodically check the fit of the floor box as you chip away the concrete. Aim for a snug fit that allows the box to sit level with the floor. Tenthly, once you have chipped out enough concrete, clean the area thoroughly. Remove any debris, dust, or loose particles. 11thly, inspect the conduit for any damage. If you find any cracks or breaks, repair it using appropriate materials, such as electrical tape or conduit fittings. 12thly, pull the wires back through the conduit into the newly created recess. Leave enough slack for easy connection to the receptacle. 13thly, position the floor box in the recess. Ensure it is level and properly aligned with the conduit. 14thly, inject epoxy or another suitable adhesive around the perimeter of the floor box. This will secure it to the floor and prevent it from shifting or moving. 15thly, allow the adhesive to cure fully according to the manufacturer's instructions. This may take several hours or even overnight. 16thly, once the adhesive is cured, connect the wires to the receptacle in the floor box. Follow proper wiring techniques and ensure all connections are secure. 17thly, carefully place the receptacle into the floor box and secure it with screws. 18thly, install the cover plate over the floor box. Choose an oversized cover plate that will conceal any damage to the linoleum. 19th, trim the linoleum around the cover plate using a sharp utility knife. Aim for a clean, precise cut that follows the contours of the cover plate. 20th, adhere the linoleum firmly to the floor around the cover plate. Use a suitable adhesive or double-sided tape to ensure it stays in place. 21st, test the receptacle to ensure it is working properly. Use a voltage tester to verify the correct voltage and polarity. 22nd, clean up the work area and dispose of any debris or waste materials properly. 23rd, inspect the finished installation to ensure it is safe and aesthetically pleasing. Make any necessary adjustments or corrections. Saw cutting is an alternative method. If you opt for saw cutting, firstly, consult with a professional concrete cutting company to assess the feasibility and safety of this approach. Secondly, ensure that all utilities are located and marked before cutting. This will help prevent damage to underground pipes or wires. Thirdly, use a concrete saw with a diamond blade to make a precise cut around the conduit. Fourthly, be careful not to damage the conduit or surrounding area. Fifthly, remove the concrete within the cut to create a recess for the floor box. Sixthly, follow the remaining steps for floor box installation as described above. Remember to prioritize safety throughout the entire process. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment such as safety glasses, gloves, and a dust mask. Follow all applicable electrical codes and regulations. If you are not comfortable performing this work yourself, it is best to hire a qualified electrician. Consider the National Electrical Code, or NEC, requirements. For example, NEC Section 314.27. A. For addresses, boxes and floors. This section requires that receptacles and boxes and floors shall be listed for that purpose. The NEC also addresses wiring methods. For example, NEC Section 300.4 addresses protection against physical damage. This section requires that wiring methods be protected from physical damage. When installing floor boxes, ensure that the wiring is adequately protected from damage. If the conduit is exposed, consider using a more robust conduit type, such as rigid metal conduit, or RMC, to provide additional protection. Also review NEC Section 314.29, which covers boxes must be accessible. Wiring within electrical boxes must remain accessible after installation. Floor boxes are typically installed in areas with heavy foot traffic. Consider the load rating of the floor box cover to ensure it can withstand the expected traffic. Select a floor box cover that is rated for the appropriate load. Also, NEC Table 300.5 specifies minimum cover requirements for burial of underground cables and conduits. Although this table primarily addresses underground installations, it provides valuable insights into protecting wiring from physical damage. Consider the potential for water intrusion when installing floor boxes in damp or wet locations. Select a floor box that is specifically designed for wet locations. These boxes typically have watertight seals and gaskets to prevent water from entering the box. Also, NEC Section 406.9 covers receptacles in wet or damp locations. Consider using ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection for receptacles installed in floor boxes, especially in areas where there is a potential for water exposure. Also refer to NEC Section 210.8 for GFCI protection requirements. When selecting a floor box, consider the number and type of conductors that will be installed in the box. Ensure that the box is large enough to accommodate all of the conductors and any necessary splices or terminations. Also review NEC Section 314.16 for box fill calculations. Consider the type of floor covering when selecting a floor box. If the floor covering is thick or uneven, you may need to use a floor box with an adjustable flange to ensure that the cover plate sits flush with the floor surface. Also consider the aesthetics of the floor box installation. Select a floor box and cover plate that complements the surrounding decor. Floor boxes are available in a variety of materials and finishes. When installing floor boxes in commercial settings, consider the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, requirements for accessibility. Ensure that the floor box and cover plate do not create a tripping hazard for people with disabilities. Also refer to the ADA standards for accessible design for specific requirements. Consider the potential for future modifications or additions to the electrical system when installing floor boxes. Choose a floor box that can accommodate future wiring changes. Also NEC Section 110.3. B covers the installation and use of listed or labeled equipment. Follow the manufacturer's instructions when installing floor boxes and related components. This will help ensure that the installation is safe and code compliant. In addition to the NEC, local electrical codes may have additional requirements for floor box installations. Check with your local electrical inspector to ensure that your installation complies with all applicable codes. Remember to always prioritize safety and follow best practices when working with electricity. If you are not comfortable performing any of these tasks, it is best to hire a qualified electrician. Before commencing work, a thorough site assessment is crucial. Evaluate the existing electrical system, including the panel's capacity and the condition of the wiring. Identify the specific needs of the dental office, such as the number of receptacles required and their intended use. This assessment will help determine the appropriate size and type of floor boxes to use. Obtain all necessary permits and approvals from the local authorities before starting any electrical work. This will help ensure that the installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. Communicate effectively with the dental office owner and staff throughout the project. Keep them informed of the progress and any potential disruptions. Address any concerns or questions promptly and professionally. Document the entire installation process, including photographs, diagrams, and test results. This documentation will be valuable for future maintenance and troubleshooting. Provide the dental office owner with a copy of the documentation and any warranties for the floor boxes and related components. Offer ongoing support and maintenance services to the dental office. This will help ensure that the electrical system continues to operate safely and efficiently. Consider using surge protection devices to protect sensitive electronic equipment from voltage spikes. Surge protection devices can be installed at the panel or at individual receptacles. Consider using power conditioning equipment to improve the quality of the electricity supply. Power conditioning equipment can help reduce noise and interference on the electrical system. Consider using energy-efficient lighting and appliances to reduce energy consumption. Energy-efficient lighting and appliances can save the dental office money on their utility bills. Consider using renewable energy sources such as solar panels to generate electricity. Renewable energy sources can help reduce the dental office's reliance on fossil fuels. Consider implementing a comprehensive energy management plan to optimize energy use. An energy management plan can help the dental office identify and implement energy-saving measures. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous. Always take precautions to protect yourself and others from electrical shock. Follow all applicable safety guidelines and regulations. If you are not comfortable performing any of these tasks, it is best to hire a qualified electrician. The selection of the appropriate tools is paramount for successful and safe floor box installation. A rotary hammer with a selection of masonry bits is essential for chipping out the concrete. The size and type of bit will depend on the hardness of the concrete and the desired size of the recess. A hammer drill can also be used, but it may be less efficient for removing large amounts of concrete. A concrete saw with a diamond blade is required for saw cutting. The blade should be appropriate for the type of concrete being cut. Safety glasses, gloves, and a dust mask are essential for protecting yourself from concrete dust and debris. A non-contact voltage tester is crucial for verifying that the power is off before starting any electrical work. A utility knife or scoring tool is needed for carefully cutting the linoleum around the pipe. A level is used to ensure that the floor box is installed level with the floor surface. A tape measure is used to accurately measure the dimensions of the recess and the floor box. Wire strippers are used to safely remove insulation from electrical wires. Screwdrivers are needed for connecting wires to the receptacle and securing the cover plate. Pliers are used for bending and shaping wires. A vacuum cleaner is used to clean up dust and debris after chipping or sawing the concrete. A caulking gun is used to apply epoxy or other adhesive around the perimeter of the floor box. A test light or multimeter is used to verify that the receptacle is working properly. In addition to these tools, you may also need other specialized tools depending on the specific installation requirements. Always use high-quality tools that are in good working condition. This will help ensure that the installation is safe and efficient. Before using any tool, read the manufacturer's instructions and follow all safety precautions. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment when using power tools. If you are not comfortable using any of these tools, it is best to hire a qualified electrician. Remember that safety is always the top priority. Taking into account the dental office environment, consider the importance of hygiene and infection control during the installation process. Implement measures to minimize dust and debris, which can harbor bacteria and other contaminants. Use HEPA-filtered vacuums to thoroughly clean the work area after each stage of the installation. Disinfect all tools and equipment before and after use. Wear disposable gloves and shoe covers to prevent the spread of germs. Consider using antimicrobial adhesives and sealants to further inhibit bacterial growth. Work closely with the dental office staff to ensure that the installation process does not disrupt their operations or compromise patient safety. Schedule the work during off-peak hours or weekends to minimize disruption. Communicate clearly with the staff about the scope of the work and any potential inconveniences. Provide adequate ventilation to remove dust and odors. Protect sensitive equipment and surfaces from damage during the installation process. Dispose of waste materials properly in accordance with local regulations. Following these measures will help ensure that the floor box installation is performed safely and hygienically in the dental office environment.